Welcome back to Postgame. Let's get right into it, beginning with a set of theme teams. Something I want to make clear is that I'm going to show less theme teams per episode than I have actually battled, probably for most of the remainder of Postgame. This means that the footage will end up going back to points earlier in the story than when I really fought these characters. It's functionally the same though, since we always scale to level 100. That being said, we are going to go over 10 more theme teams today across 3 gym leaders. We're going to start the episode by fighting Noel. It's like episode 9 without the fake out. The youngest gym leader has crafted 4 teams around the least interactive type in the game, starting with Abnormal. It's called that because we get to start this episode with Suffering. Normal types are some of the worst to fight when you're on Inverse Field. Going along with that is one of the worst Pokemon to fight, period. Chinchino. There's no more hiding. It's time for the Skill Link champion to teach you fear. This unassuming monster uses a Choice Scarf to outspeed Mega Aerodactyl and one-shot him with Tail Slap, which of course hits 5 times because of the aforementioned Skill Link ability. I get lucky when its second Tail Slap misses Slowbro, who goes on to Trick Room, except that Noel then pulls the Chinchino for something that likes to start slow. Regigigas. It uses a seed to then boost all of its stats one stage, and since it was a switch-in, that means its recharge turn is taken now. Slowbro can barely do anything with Surf, but when I switch to Houndoom foolishly in a Trick Room, he's knocked off easily. My entire team wasn't ready for Noel to be on Inverse, so these fighting types are worthless. Camera Up can't bring it down with Inferno Overdrive and Earthquake, Hariyama is laid out, and when Slowbro comes back to be Drain Punched, bringing the Regigigas away from death, we aren't getting one step further. So let's review the problems with Normal on Inverse Field. First, they have only one weakness, just like regular fields. But it's Ghost type, not Fighting. Second, and even worse, there is not one type that resists Normal here. Because what is Normal type super effective against? Instead, Normal becomes a monster type that is extremely hard to hit well, and you can't hide from it with your Rock, Steel, and especially Ghost types. This is a hell of a start to theme teams. Noel quickly ran up to tied with first place for most attempts at 6. In the attempts preceding this one, I ran into the rest of Noel's team and found that he is using a lot of those annoying dual Normal types, which can really screw with the type coverage you'll need. However, a couple attempts ago, I decided to bring in Aegislash, and I found her to be very good against many of Noel's teammates, but Aegislash would miss kills for one reason: no EV training. By this attempt, I fixed that. Now that Chinchino was constantly a problem, but I found a way to abuse its Choice Scarf and make it pick Bullet Seed against Heracross. When I switch to Slowbro, it does an incredibly poor amount of damage. This would cause Noel to swap out the Chinchino for a mythical, Meloetta, who also uses the Quint Seed. However, by this time, Slowbro had started Trick Room. She can't quite kill the Aria Pokemon with one Psychic, dying to that same move in return, but Hariyama can beat it with a single Fake Out, allowing himself to get burned for Guts. Regigigas is back again, but my fully trained Aegislash, trained in HP and attack, comes out to fight the slow starter. She rakes it with one Shadow Claw and kills it! Holy shit! Noel then sends out Lopunny now. You remember the rule I told you last time? Mega Lopunny. This horrible rabbit has Scrappy to let it hit Fake Out on any Pokemon, even outside of Inverse Field. But I also fixed Aegislash's moveset to return her all-important signature move, King Shield. That blocks the Fake Out and lowers its attack, making its next quad damage quick attack do nearly nothing, as it's also slashed away by the shadows. One normal fighting type opens up the floor to another. Beware. I decide I don't want to task Aegislash against the fluffy bear, so Hariyama goes out and does something very nice. Knock off its Choice Band. Its Double Edge would have surely killed with it, and it allows Hariyama to finish off the bear. But we have a huge problem. Trick Room is gone, and Chinchino is here. Shit, we needed Trick Room to make it manageable. I have only one option, which is Aegislash and his Shadow Sneak. A 40 power move knocks out Chinchino. This Pokemon is unbelievable. This leads to Noel's last Pokemon, Staraptor. I decide I have to see what Aegislash can do against that with one more Shadow Sneak. Oh, that was close! Sadly, Staraptor remains on 1 pixel to beat Aegislash after she just dominated that entire fight that was ransacking me. Thankfully, I had one last priority move to use against the bird, Sucker Punch, and we get out of Inverse Field again, for now. I reassemble the team I used that I thought would be good against normal types, and begin Noel's second theme team, Defaulted. Yeah, this one won't be fun either, Glitch Field. Have to assume that's where the name Defaulted comes from. Houndoom opens against Staraptor, and there's nothing much he can hope to achieve except Destiny Bond. Staraptor pays off my overplayed move with Giga Impact, the both of them fainting. Talonflame comes out next, only for that demon to show itself again. Chinchino. This time, I have priority in Gale Wings, but I don't use it to attack. I set up Tailwind. Rock Blast destroys Talonflame, but Double Speed lets Heracross go first to bash the Chinchino with close combat. Hey, it's also Lopunny again. Holy fuck, that Fake Out crit! Yeah, Mega Lopunny's Fake Out and Quick Attack takes down Heracross with ease. Tailwind quit then, making this the perfect time to Trick Room. All Slowbro has to do is survive this Giga Impact. Or dodge it, that works too. Lopunny sneaks in a Quick Attack, but Slowbro has it with a boosted Psychic. Next out is Dodrio, which I send out Mawile to. However, yet again this was a bad Pokemon to bring. Her attacks are all normal, costing her stab power. To that, I have to assume Dodrio can't kill in one hit, so I use Swords Dance. That's also what it does. I can't abide it trying to attack now, and Trick Room is ticking. I go for Sucker Punch, which is the same power it would be anyway. That kills the 3-headed bird! Another bird arrives now, Swellow. That one also falls to 1 Sucker Punch. Lastly is a Pokemon I honestly always forget is part normal type. Sawsbuck. It also cannot stand up to Sucker Punch. I like actual competent sweep. I never do it because I'm a bad player, but that was an awesome first try win. Next up is Entrainment. Damn you, Pulse Mime. For this fight, Noel picks one of the least common fields to give some more love. Murkwater Field. Disgustingly, it starts in doubles against Slacking and Smeargle. Oh boy, just about anything can happen. Well, one Destiny Bond coming up. Slacking eats it eagerly with Rock Slide, killing Houndoom and himself. Smeargle, on the other hand, does something worse. Sticky Web. When Heracross manages to nail it with close combat, it survives with Focus Sash. Aren't you unique? Just like the other 7 times that's happened. Fortunately, the toxic water dissolves the painter as I send out Talonflame to avoid the webs and the water. Regigigas and Porygon Z. Now that's what I call a problem. I shouldn't overextend, but I don't want to allow either of those two to stand. I use Brave Bird on Porygon Z and close combat the Regi. The Cyber Pokemon lives as it then fires Blizzard. It completely misses! Only freezing up the water with that incredible twist. Heracross then flies at Regigigas and knocks it out with a single close combat. What a huge turn. For the 3rd time, Noel uses Lopunny. Who's it going to fake out? Heracross. I decide the Mega is more threatening than Porygon Z, so Talonflame goes for Acrobatics to conserve HP maybe. Lopunny is beaten, but Porygon Z lands the Blizzard this time, and the extra power helps it take out Talonflame. We have no speed anymore, and Sticky Web is making it worse. So Slowbro and Hariyama are going to hope Trick Room makes it as we face Pyroar. Thankfully, I can use Fake Out to hold down Porygon Z, sadly not being able to kill, as we take the Lion's Hyper Voice, surviving well. Trick Room then gives us an easy opening to Psychic the dubious Pokemon and close combat the Pyroar to deliver another first try. As a side note about why this fight is called Entrainment, it is named after the move of that name which was never shown in this fight. The Smeargle, Lopunny, and Pyroar could have gifted their abilities, Own Tempo, Scrappy, and Moxie, to other Pokemon, notably the Truant Slacking and the Slow Start Regigigas. Very scary ideas. One last team for Noel, Illustrated. Named so, I believe, just because it pits us against him on Rainbow Field. The same awful cybernetic Pokemon is back for more. You can have this Destiny Bond. Talonflame comes out to Drampa. I decide this time to hammer it with Brave Bird, but this only makes things worse. The Drampa falls just below half health and goes rip and tear, blasting away Talonflame with Hyper Voice. Worse, the Wish from the Porygon Z revitalizes the Drampa, meaning it can probably Berserk a second time. I'm not letting that happen. Heracross punches out the dragon. This will bring Meloetta, and since I have to flip a coin about which form it will take, I decide Mawile has the best coverage for it. It's Aria again, meaning Psychic Normal. That means I definitely get to go first with Sucker Punch, which decks the Singer. The dumbest Gen 4 evolution is next, Licky Licky, and Heracross will go out to take care of it. However, it does an extremely annoying series of moves. First, it protects, so the turn is wasted. At end of turn, its ability Cloud9 activates, which on Rainbow Field acts sort of like the ability Moody, giving one stage of a random stat. And guess what? It got Defense. This causes the next close combat to bring it down to a scrap of HP instead of killing, so that it could respond with Hyper Voice to kill. You lucky fuck. I give it a second fighting type, Hariyama, who fakes it out to kill and turns on Guts. Always a satisfying move. Now comes out good old highest HP stat Pokemon in the game, Blissey. I use Mawile thinking she should be typed well to match it. It's unfortunately faster and attacks with Tri-Attack, boosted by Rainbow Field, but it doesn't do very much. It still lives through one Iron Head, and the next turn the same moves are repeated. Mawile gets burned this time, but she still has the strength to kill Blissey. Last one is not a Lopunny this time. It's an Audino. Yeah, this one's Mega too. At this point, I'm not sure what Mega Audino's capabilities are, so I use Trick Room just to be safe. It Toxic Slowbro, allowing the Trick Room, before she attacks Audino with a weak Psychic, lose most of her HP to Hyper Voice, and the rest to Poison. I think that I can just go back to Mawile to Iron Head the Fairy type, but its amount of HP combined with Mawile's burn allows it to survive 2 hits and Wish. It heals 75% HP with that here, and Mawile's time is running out. However, after the second iteration of this, I use Swords Dance, and we barely avoid an infuriating ending by knocking out the Mega Audino with another Iron Head. So Null trashes me with his first team. Then the rest fall in one try each. We get to move on to the second gym leader today, the one whom we quote-unquote saved from the void. Luna. She only has 2 teams to fight. Let's start with Mermaid in the Deep. Oh no, that's going to be Water Surface again, isn't it? Yep. The Dark Dreamer starts with Crawdaunt, whose Aqua Jet keeps Houndoom from yet another sacrifice. Then it whomps Heracross with Crabhammer, knocks off Slowbro, hammers Mawile and Hariyama with Crab as well, and then finally dies after knocking out 5 of my Pokemon to my Talonflame's priority move. Great start. Who's next? Greninja. Hey buddy. Whirlpool ends the first attempt. Miserable team comp for that. Gotta change it up. After another loss that happened solely because of a flinch, attempt 3 sees my washing machine against Crawdaunt. Mock Turtle has the power to take half from Rotom with an Aqua Jet, but is then shocked out by Thunderbolt. Then came the Pokemon that caused the flinch last battle. Hydreigon. Yeah, this feels familiar, right? Here's the thing. Jabberwocky here uses Devastating Drake, so I think to try bouncing Slowbro out immediately to bait it into a low HP Rotom. It didn't think to. It went for Dark Pulse, which was the move that caused the flinch. Rotom dies, and I decide I have to hope that Slowbro survives it and won't flinch this time. Except that it then does unleash Devastating Drake! And Slowbro lives by the skin of her teeth! She Trick Rooms and even manages to sink a Focus Blast on the Dark Dragon, but doesn't kill, and falls to Surf. That's fine though. With Trick Room going, Vanillix gets to come in and take full control of this water field. He blizzards the Hydreigon, putting us on Icy Field, and Greninja is back. Even if it uses Water Shuriken, I get to nail it with 1 Freeze Dry for super effective damage. That's all he needed. Maybe the crit mattered. Sharpedo comes out next and stalls out 1 turn of Trick Room with Protect. It can't hide forever and dies to the next Freeze Dry. It's been too long without a legendary, so here's the one from the cover of Pokemon Y. Yveltal, 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 Yveltal. Whew, that was a hard one. Last up is Gyarados, something I seem to run into a lot on Icy Field. But if you think about how every Pokemon Luna used was a Dark type, you'll realize this is the Mega. Losing half of its weakness to Freeze Dry, Mega Gyarados lives and hits Vanillux with Aqua Tail, but it only does a third to Vanillux. When Trick Room runs out, I figure I should live a second Aqua Tail. Well, yes, especially because it missed. Vanillux takes down the Gyarados in Luna's first team of 2. Her second is Gothic Lolita, which takes us to a faraway land of whimsy. Fucking Fairy Tail. On an actual killing field this time, a poorly positioned Rotom fights against Rainbow Muck, more like Rainbow Yuck. Its signature ability, Power of Alchemy, gets helped by Fairy Tail to give him one stage of both defenses. Beautiful. Humpty Dumpty there brushes off 2 Thunderbolts like nothing to slap aside Rotom. Hariyama comes out, guts himself up, then dodges a gunk shot to pummel the pile out. It's time once again for Hydreigon. I try to go for a direct attack with Vanillux since I can't expect Slowbro to survive it, but its Dragon Pulse kills first with a crit. I am proven wrong about Slowbro, who can survive the Dragon Pulse in Trick Room, but a Focus Blast is yet again not enough power. Hariyama pummels yet another Pokemon down, and we get Luna's most infuriating team member from Glass Hell, Weavile. Trick Room means Weavile would have one choice, Ice Shard. Against a defense down Hariyama, that would be lethal. I switch to Mawile, who smiles at the Ice Shard instead, and headbutts the Weasel with her Iron Skull. The next Pokemon is Hoopa. Oh dear God, that means it's unbound. The Djinn appears, but is just as easily put back in the bottle with Play Rough. You stay away, Hoopa. You'll have your chance to destroy me again. Bisharp is next, which I mean to have Hariyama crunch with his fists. It starts out with a seed-given King Shield. Well, that pretty much ruins Hariyama. Belly Drum is the only move that won't attack the Bisharp, but that would cost too much HP. He instead throws his Fake Out, which costs him 2 stages of attack. It didn't matter. Ironhead puts him on the ground. Fortunately though, Bisharp has little he can do to Mawile, who only takes a weak Sucker Punch to play rough and kill. Somehow Trick Room has made it all the way to this turn, and we go against Luna's last Pokemon. The same last Pokemon from that fateful encounter I already mentioned once. Absol. One more expected Mega Evolution later, Mawile goes first and wins this fight on the first try for me. Very quickly Luna's fights are both done, and we move on to the last gym leader today, Hardy. His 4 teams are all named first and foremost after rock songs. His first one called the Ocean. The battle reason for that name should be pretty clear. Clear as the water's surface. Armaldo is first and outspeeds Houndoom to kill him. He does the same to Greninja. Fuck, that's fast. I go to Slowbro for the usual trick, but Armaldo bails instead of using X-Scissor again for another Ultra Beast, Nihilego. That switched allowed the Trick Room in, and a powered-up Surf blasts down Nihilego. Then he sends Archeops. Slowbro washes that one up too. He then gets an Omastar out here next, which requires a switch to Rotom. My Rotom manages to go first and Thunderbolt Omastar for a one-shot. Then Kabutops is next. You have a plan here, Hardy? I'm not seeing it. Its Aqua Jet does under half, and Rotom kills another fossil Pokemon. Speaking of fossils, the original one that took out 2 Pokemon in a row is back. Slowbro wastes it with Surf. Hardy ends with Aerodactyl, and it turned out, no, Hardy did not have a plan. First try. Rocky Mountain Way is next up, and in case you couldn't guess, it's on Mountain. Couldn't get much higher. This one is another of those double battles I just love. That scary Aerodactyl leads next to Minior. Greninja's Water Shuriken doesn't have the power to take out the Aerodactyl first, who naturally outspeeds Houndoom even with Choice Scarf to Rock Slide. But he missed Houndoom! That could be big, as Houndoom then goes with Destiny Bond and gets killed by Minior. We are down 2 to this, but Aerodactyl is low. Hardy uses that Nihilego again, as Slowbro and Hariyama come out. Fake Out keeps Aerodactyl from crushing us. A dazzling gleam from the rock jellyfish hurts Hariyama bad, but Trick Room begins. Unfortunately, Hariyama is neutral to both opponents. But instead of giving him a shot at one of them, I ended up using Surf to try doing everything with Slowbro. This kills Aerodactyl and Hariyama, but doesn't even take half from Nihilego. Slowbro loses more HP to a Gleam, and Aurora shows up. Rotom can survive his ally's Surf well, but it still doesn't kill another opponent. A powered-up Thunder from Aurorus disintegrates Slowbro before Rotom can fire Hydro Pump, which cuts off the Nihilego. Sadly to Mawile, we get Hardy's ace, the Dusk Lycanroc, who Accelerox my Rotom to defeat it. I can crush the double weak Aurorus with Iron Head, but I thought it would be one-on-one now. It wasn't. Terrakion. Cool, thanks for that. What really sucks is that I may have been able to win that fight had I attacked the Rock Sword of Justice instead of Lycanroc, whose only attack was a weak Sucker Punch. Terrakion, on the other hand, used a Z-move, all-out pummeling, after Mawile wins, and Mawile cannot withstand it. It's really bad that I lost that, because do you remember how the fight started? Houndoom dodged a Rock Slide to kill something. What's going to happen next time? Greninja will dodge it instead, and Hydro Vortex the Minior straight out. I should have fired at Aerodactyl, but I knew Greninja would live one Rock Slide to take out the other attacker. Out comes Slowbro and the Terrakion appears early now. And then, Water Shuriken does the most unbelievable thing it has ever done. It starts against Terrakion with a crit, then goes all the way to 5 hits. And when it seemed like Terrakion might live through the 5 hits, second crit. So yeah, the luck got even better this second attempt, and even more amazingly, Aerodactyl went for Tailwind, only to be utterly ruined by Trick Room. But just when I needed Focus Blast to hit an Aurorus the most, it misses. A Surf from Greninja cannot kill either enemy, and Greninja is blasted with Thunder and beaten. Slowbro lives through Aerodactyl's Rock Slide, and Mawile is out now. I have to hurt Mawile with Surf while she Iron Heads the Aurorus, but this takes down Hardy's side. Nihilego and Lycanroc arrive at once, which I know means some priority pain is coming. It's Slowbro who feels it with Sucker Punch, losing her chance to Psychic the Rock Poison Ultra Beast, but Mawile avenges her, KOing the Lycanroc and taking a moderate Dazzling Gleam. Finally, Hariyama comes out to full Nelson the Jellyfish, while Mawile breaks it with another Iron Head. Lucy in the Sky is next. Well, there aren't any diamonds in Crystal Cavern, but that's okay. Hardy brought his own diamond, Deontay, which yet again Mega Evolves. Destiny Bond still works on you too. When I drop in Greninja, I get to deal with Rampardos. It was faster, and kills with superpower. I put Slowbro in front of it to expose its Choice Scarf, which makes it leave for Rhyperior. Well, Trick Room still benefits Slowbro better, who one-shots it with Surf. Tyranitar is up next, and though Slowbro could hit that with Surf too, I can't resist clobbering it with Close Combat by Hariyama. Now the Absurd Attack Fossil returns, but Guts Hariyama is way too strong for it. Instead of Absurd Attack, Hardy then sends out even more Absurd Defense! Regirock! 200 defense! Hariyama has to try anyway, and he comes very close to killing. He eats a Stone Edge and faints, but Mawile can remove that sliver of HP with Iron Head. Last is a very unhappy Aurorus. Iron Head wins. Also, pay no mind to the fact that I forgot to reset the reset counter. This was a first try win. I tell you though, what wasn't a first try win? The last theme team of the day, Bites the Dust. That's because Hardy saved his actual best field effect for last, Desert Field. A double fight begins against Midday and Tyranitar, who Sandstreams, which with the field effect means that Rock and Ground types gain 50% special defense. If they're both types, they get both boosts. Houndoom doesn't even get a chance to fire Destiny Bond, dying to Rock Slide. But Greninja is able to Hydro Vortex Lycanroc away before also dying. I think I really need to get Trick Room started, until that Gigalith shows up. Damn it, get your slow ass out of here! My Rotom was the fastest here, but Hydro Pump can't even break half off of Gigalith, as Rotom is hit by 2 attacks and dies. Slowbro lives a Rock Slide and doesn't flinch, Trick Rooming. Hariyama comes out to fake out the Gigalith, and Slowbro nails the Tyranitar with Focus Blast. Well, nail is a strong word, unless you mean fingernail, because that's how much it did to Tyranitar. Crunch chomps Slowbro, but she barely lives to then fire a Surf that did nearly nothing. Then Rock Slides rained down on both of my Pokemon, killing Slowbro and flinching Hariyama, who is out low sped by Gigalith. Mawile comes out to this massacre as Hariyama never takes an action, dying to Iron Head, which Mawile dishes back to Gigalith to kill it. She has to take a Fire Punch for almost half from Tyranitar. Now here's Rhyperior. So yeah, that bastard has ridiculous defense, and his special defense is so boosted that it can literally resist water now. One more Drill Run from Tyranitar finishes off Mawile. This one was hellish. It just killed the attempts with ease. Another one gone, and another one gone. Almost all the time, it was all thanks to fucking Rock Slide. So often, it took away wins with just a single flinch. You cannot use special attacks in this fight. Even if you remove the Sandstorm, you must be going in with physical. But that's horrible against the rock Pokemon who have unbelievable defense already. Trick Room, meanwhile, is really not your friend this time. Gigalith and the other really slow Pokemon are going to put your low speeds to shame. This fight soon became the new frontrunner, edging out the competition to reach 7 attempts taken. I now have Hariyama up front with Houndoom, which lets me fake out the Lycanroc. That means that Houndoom will take something down, and if Tyranitar misses Rock Slide, then it will take out Lycanroc instead. This time, Tyranitar hit Houndoom, thus ending itself. Slowbro came out to Gigalith, which is always annoying, since it means that Trick Room will let it get probable flinches on me. Lycanroc's Rock Slide right now can cause more flinches, but this time, both my Pokemon muscled through, Hariyama dusting the Gigalith and Trick Room starting. But Rhyperior is also very slow, and this is where Slowbro stops being useful, except for using Rain Dance. That gives Water back the edge against rock and ground types on this field, but it was hardly a silver bullet. What's awful is that Rhyperior was able to go before Hariyama and kill him with Drill Run before he could close combat the Lycanroc. I tagged in Camerupt, whose Earthquake could take out the low Lycanroc. With the help of a Psychic from Slowbro, Lycanroc dies to Earthquake, but Rhyperior is still very healthy. Guess what other rock-ground Pokemon is really slow? Golem! Fuck, this is awful. Now I wish I had a Surf to hit them with. Instead, I have Mawile, and that sucks because now Earthquake could kill her before she attacks, so I had to switch to Earth Power against Golem. And it missed. Sandveil! Rock Slide beats Camerupt now, but Mawile avoids flinching and can take out all of that HP from Rhyperior. Remarkably, she then survives a stomping tantrum from Golem too. We are then presented with Deontay again, which is assuredly going to go Mega, as I only have Heracross left. In this critical moment, Mawile was the slowest and can shatter Deontay with Iron Head. And Golem went for Stomping Tantrum again against Mawile, which left Heracross able to close combat the Golem and take it out in one hit. Holy shit, that was a mess! Desert, if used right, is monstrous, and man was Hardy using it right. That one was getting on my nerves. Hardy and his favorite move now took the top spot on the leaderboard. Let's take a look at the list now. Our 4-way tie at 3 attempts, which would have become a 5-way tie with Luna's Mermaid in the Deep, all fell off the top 5 thanks to Knowles and Hardy's theme teams. Sarah and Knowles share second place with Digital Imaging and Abnormal, while the Sajaya sisters stay on the board with Intermediation and Ametrine Blues. There will pretty much always be a backlog of theme teams to go through, but we have much more to go over today than last time in terms of our new neighboring universe. Walk back over to the anomaly map and find that there are many more lights dancing on the floor. As well, we have a few new attendants joining Cass now. Speak with her first to hear her compliments on our handling of Van Hanen Castle, but she informs us that while we were away, many more anomalies have appeared. She says that the other attendants will each tell us about one of the issues that have arisen. She herself then goes into the next quest for us, involving the first legendary Pokemon players probably ever saw, the legendary birds. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres have been sighted around Reborn, but apparently, They do not seem to have the presence of the anomaly aura that we saw against Cresselia. They should only be normal legendaries, as much of an oxymoron as that is. Cass passes along the information she was given. One is at Apophil, one around Barrel Bridge, and one at Ametrine, adding that they will be in thematically relevant places. Yeah, I get it. Now we can speak to the other quest givers behind the counter, of which there are 3 more. Head to the top and talk first with Randall. Our buddy from Sub 7 is back to help us with the legendary situation, and tells us that we should mosey on up to Route 1 and Adventurine to search out the anemones as he calls them. He already sent another girl up there, though he forgot her name. She'd be at the Nature Center, so we should find her. To the right next is Seacrest, who has put his own gardening around the city on pause to help out, and lets us know that there are legendary Pokemon that have taken residence in Azurine Lake. One of them underwater, one on the surface, and one in a cave. If you're well familiar with legendary Pokemon, you may already know which lakeside trio this is. Then we come to the last attendant, and we meet again with a former opponent, Zero. He says that he's glad we got through Labradora, saying how weird this entire situation is now, but says that instead of him rambling again, we should get down to business. His information tells us that another of the New World gates has appeared on Route 2 in a cave. He adds that someone living nearby in the area has already gone to check it out. Well, it's a 50-50 to guess which person living on Route 2 that would be. That's all of the quests that we can take, and you should just accept all of them from the start for convenience. For these rounds of quests, you can do them in any order, the next round not becoming available until all of these are completed. I tend to go from least to most intense if I can remember which quest is what. For that reason, let's start with the only Pokemon we were told about directly, the legendary birds. In that case, we're going to head for what is likely the first legendary you'd see in Gen 1, which will take us to Ametrine City. You'll have to ascend Ametrine Mountain the same way we did when we chased Blake for the Ruby Ring, reaching to the summit where we fought him. There's nothing noteworthy on the way. Once you reach the top of the mountain, you'll meet the first bird, Articuno. It will float in the air waiting for you to engage it, having a fantastic idle animation by the way, and as Cass said, there is no anomaly encircling it. That means we're going to go straight into the catching portion of this encounter, just like you would have in the Sea Foam Islands. So throw a Reborn ball at it and be done in 1 second, right? Well, sure, I could do that, but this is a static encounter. There's no major battle occurring ahead of it, so there's nothing risk to try to catch this Pokemon with a different ball. What ball would I use if I wasn't going to use the one with 100% success rate? The other kind of Pokeball that you can buy from the nightclub. Glitter balls. Yes, let's spice up these encounters by catching them with glitter balls to turn them shiny. This does mean I have to try quite a bit to get them to cooperate. I put False Swipe on Mawile and brought Zebstrika since he still has Thunder Wave. My plan is to drop a Thunder Wave on it right away and then start attacking with Discharge until it is low. Of course, Zeb is pretty open to ice attacks on Snowy Mountain, so he can go down easily. At that, Mawile will come out and withstand the attacks better and bring it closer to fainting, until she gets frozen forever, and by the way, Articuno has Roost. Of course! Not going to make this easy. I put Vanillix out in front of it and find that using Freeze Dry does pretty perfect damage here, even if it roosts, and I start throwing glitter balls. However, I put a limit of 10 throws per Pokemon since I don't want to have to grind more BP for no reason. I quickly chew through 10 glitter balls to no avail. The second try happens the exact same way. 10 attempts, no Articuno. The third round was circling the drain just the same, until of course on the 10th ball, Articuno finally holds still. Yeah, what can you expect from the lowest catch rates in the game? This doesn't bode well for having to do this for every legendary like this. But our reward for our perseverance is a shiny Articuno. Excellent design. The rainbow colors are infinitely better than pale blue. Next up numerically is Zapdos, said to be spotted around Barrel Bridge. Just remember your red and blue and go to the abandoned power plant. Unfortunately, with the lights out again due to catching Rotom earlier in the game, we can only barely see the cool animation for Zapdos when the lights blink. What's also unfortunate is how we have to attempt to catch Zapdos without paralysis. And I figure it's not worth trying to use sleep. I'd rather just muscle through this. This time around though, it proves harder to damage the legendary bird and keep it alive, let alone catch it. Using Zeb was a poor choice, since he can easily take out Zapdos with neutral damage, and it's made worse with Short Circuit and Factory Fields messing with the damage output. Zapdos can also hit hard against my other Pokemon with Zap Cannon, while Zeb can absorb all its electric attacks. Like Articuno, it also knows Roost, so this one is a real headache. But the actual result of the eventual capture is as good as it can get. It only takes 2 attacks and 1 Glitter Ball to grab Zapdos. We take a look at Zapdos and see another super cool color scheme. Way better than literally nearly the same color as base. I really don't understand why Pokemon's designers created shiny Pokemon and decided to employ no creativity to half of them. We have only one bird left to catch, on Apophil, and its thematically relevant location should be pretty obvious. Start ascending Mount Pyrus all the way back to where we battled Solaris for the first time. Moltres awaits us here, and this time is susceptible to Thunder Wave. The Firebird goes way better than the previous 2, only requiring 1 reset due to killing it, then taking only 3 Glitter Balls to capture. Moltres' shiny sprite in the vanilla games is at least a bit interesting, but I really like how Reborn's shiny Moltres stole its Galarian counterpart's colors. Now before we continue, there's actually someone we should talk to for a relationship point. It's Lumi, who mentions that she heard about the legendary birds and wonders if we've seen Articuno. She asks if she could see Articuno if we can show her. Bring it to her and she'll be very happy. Relationship point gained. 3 shiny birds down, several more legendaries to go. We next take up the task from Seacrest, tracking down 3 Pokemon said to be flitting around Azurine Lake. We head back to Apophil again and jump into the lake. It's kind of annoying when you think of the clues though. One is above water and one is underwater. Well, that means one could be anywhere on the surface of the lake, and one is in one of those many submerged neighborhoods we searched 6 episodes ago. While I'm searching for the one that's in a cave though, we find an actual shiny, Tentacool. I love the red Tentacool, though again it's one of those you're likely to see way too often to be excited about. About that cave we need to find, if you thought it would be the easy cave right here, sorry, it's going to be that other one. I decide I'll just have to start diving and hope we find the right underwater burrow. I start here and dive, find nothing, and surface to the north. I go northwest to this beach, then dive back down on this side of the rocks. Oh! Lucky! I thought this was going to be painful, but we've already found the first of the Lake Guardians. Uxie. Uxie thankfully can't heal itself. Only put up amnesias to make it harder to hurt until I accidentally crit it to kill it once. I pick it up on the second try with 3 more throws. Peeking at the new legendary in our party, looks like Azelf lent its coloration over to Uxie. Speaking of Azelf, as I started from Apophil Beach again and swam north, wondering where the hell the surface spirit would be.
Oh, there it is.
Go south to this long sandbar and dive down here to surface to the north. Then get onto dry land in front of the willpower Pokemon. The effort required appears to be lessening, as I catch Azelf on the first try with again 3 balls. Like Uxie, Azelf appears to be borrowing from Mesprit. That leaves said Mesprit as the last one to find. And man, did I take way too long to remember where the other cave was. It's way in the northwest of the lake, and you have to enter the cave by diving down here and swimming just to the right up through this narrow square of light. Let me warn you, you'd better have brought something capable of freezing the water again here. Greet your faithful Pyukumuku disciples, then freeze the water and ascend the waterfall to enter the cave that normally can't be entered due to rushing water. Enter that cave now and skate left to find the 3rd Guardian, Mesprit. The first attempt already took more balls than the last one, and then I foolishly brought out Vanillux, whose hail is now chipping the last of Mesprit's HP away. Then right at the last possible moment, holy shit, you want to know how close that was? It had 1 HP. It was the Clutch Master who did it. He shared his power with the Mesprit. Of course, the Lake Trio's last member completes their cosplay party. Mesprit sporting Uxie's yellow. Alright, 2 easy trios done. Now it's time to kick the difficulty up significantly. Fly now to Route 1, and as soon as you arrive, you're going to find out who it was that Randall sent. Hi, Sandy. She says hi brightly back as she explains that she has become too engrossed trying to help a seemingly sick mill tank near the nature center. She thinks that taking its temperature will uncover its problem. Thing is, she says that in order to take its temperature, it needs to be applied... You know what? I think entering a hostile alien world to fight enhanced legendaries is more my speed. She says if we want to do that, then we can find, in fact, 3 doors in this area. One in the North Adventuring Woods, one in the South, and one somewhere else. Thanks, Sandy. Really helpful. We leave the de facto ground gym leader messing around with things she shouldn't be, as always, and go grab ourselves a Tauros. Hopefully you have the Adventuring Woods solved in order to easily go to the 4th north entrance from the Nature Center. Go right, then follow the path to that ledge, and beyond the berry patch, another of the impossible doors stands waiting for you. Tauros is going to have nothing to do with that, so send him off and head inside the door to find a more lush landscape than what we saw at Van Hanen. As Luna said, this world is becoming more and more detailed, and beyond that, atmosphere is forming. This section of the new world does not take place on the field effect of the same name, but on mountain with strong winds. Ascend this new mountain a bit, but notice that there's a path to the left here. At the end of that path is a floating green hexagonal object. When you touch it, it absorbs into your gather cube. It's a Z cell. Oh boy. Time for a brand new side quest. There are 100 Z cells for Zygarde in base games, so have fun collecting all those. And have fun me making sure I don't miss any throughout this entire post-game. Then as I was searching around making sure I didn't miss anything else, Shiny Golem! And just like the shiny Geodude we encountered in the past, it also exploded. I tried 2 glitter balls, but it was not meant to be. There isn't anything else to find on this small mountain. Walk north as far as you can, and you'll discover that we are dealing with another legendary trio, and this time, they aren't roaming. On this mountain first is Raikou, and unlike the 6 previous legendaries we caught, this one won't be simple. Raikou is encased in an anomaly. This will be a major battle. Out first from the legendary electric beast is Ice-type Rotom, to which Houndoom is suited. He can dispatch it with 1 heat wave thankfully, which now has Raikou send out Togekiss. I decide to go put up Trick Room now, but Slowbro first has to take a boosted Ominous Wind and barely survive. I use Ice Beam on it, which was silly since the strong winds make Togekiss not weak to that, and Slowbro faints. I've since learned that strong winds is a weather effect, and so that flying weakness annulment can be stopped by starting another weather, hail. You don't have to change the field effect. Vanilluxe aims Blizzard at Togekiss, but it instead will hit Alolan Sandslash. The mountain now becomes snowy, and even though Sandslash is quad resistant to ice, the damage Vanilluxe did was not horrible, and now it will be boosted. Unfortunately, this gambit put Sandslash 1 HP away from death, as it Ironheads Vanilluxe twice to take him out. When Camerupt comes out to do the last pixel of damage, Sandslash is yanked for the earlier Pokemon, Togekiss. A lower power Lava Plume does little except burn Togekiss and melt the snow on the field. However, Trick Room lets me follow with Rock Slide to crush Togekiss. Not sure how this Raikou's team is working thematically, because it's now going to use Porygon Z. Oh, you would use something shitty like that. But remarkably, 1 Iron Head from Mawile instantly beats that bastard. But it was on the last turn of Trick Room. The hail from Vanilluxe covers the land in snow again, and Raikou decides it's going to do this itself. The level 107 legendary arrives to my disadvantaged Camerupt, but if he survives, then he'll wreck Raikou with Tectonic Rage. He gets no such chance, as he's blasted with Aura Sphere. To the legendary, the only Pokemon who has a chance to go first is Houndoom, and so he goes out and uses Destiny Bond. Houndoom is faster. Raikou thunders Houndoom and defeats itself. The problem is, we're still 2 away from a victory and have no Trick Room. I decide that Mawile is definitely more of an anchor, so Drampa is sent out to the returning Sandslash with 1 HP. Of course, that matchup doomed Drampa, who's hit with Icicle Crash. Mawile has the Sucker Punch to make this a 1-on-1. It's Frostlass, the perfect target for Sucker Punch, and another Focus Sash. But Frostlass's one response, Ominous Wind. Even with increased strength, that's not enough to beat Mawile, and it goes down to the second Sucker Punch. Wow. That was not what I expected in a fight with Togekiss, Alolan Sandslash, and Porygon Z. First try. Of course, now comes the second part. Yeah, you think I'm going to try throwing glitter balls at Raikou when I barely have half a Pokemon remaining? No way, take this Reborn ball. I'm not squandering this win. But I won't deprive you viewers of what Raikou actually looks like shiny. I can still show that, and it looks sick. I'm sorry if I'm ignorant to any particular inspiration for this design, but for me, it's just badass. 1 victory over the 3 legendary beasts. Now walk out of the new world the way you came to return to the Adventuring Woods. Just walk right out, and nothing else happens. We now only have 1 more hint from Sandy to go off of to find another gate, somewhere in the southern woods. The place you need to enter is the 3rd southern entrance from the Nature Center. Go down to the bottom ledge and head all the way right to spot the next door. Make sure you stay on Tauros to go up and around until you can safely dismount him in front of the gate. The next doorway leads into a section of the new world that looks similar to the one with Cresselia, until you have to jump into the flooded forest. You may look around here while surfing, wondering if there's any extra stuff to find. Conclude there isn't any, then bump accidentally into Suicune up north before you are ready. But take a much harder look at the right side tree line before going too far north. You'll find the narrowest pathway between the trees, which takes you eventually to a little island with another Z-Cell and a max revive. Anyway, bumping accidentally into Suicune. The water beast will open with Ludicolo, and we're on water surface. Yeah, the longer I do this series, the more I feel like I undersold water surface. This field honestly sucks to deal with. Maybe should have been a killing field. Houndoom with Choice Scarf cannot do his usual trick, dying to surf, which means that Slowbro has to take a Giga Drain to use Trick Room. A worthless Ice Beam does net nothing before Slowbro faints, and Vanillix has to easily wipe out the duck with Freeze Dry. And guess what's back to make me miserable on water surface? Lapras. I go to Mawile and hope to God that I kill with Iron Head. I don't, but it used Curse. That's a defense stage, and maybe it goes first now with Trick Room. No, it doesn't. But then Iron Head misses the kill, and it uses Rest. Oh, by the way, it has Hydration, which automatically woke it up. Even with an extra flinch, Mawile can't bring down this awful Lapras, and my team is bad against it now. Camera Up is straight up useless here, and Vanillix's Freeze Dry, even being neutral, barely hurts Lapras. Vanillix faints, and I think it's over, until Drampa survives Ice Shard to kill it with Berserk Hyper Voice. But there's 4 to go with no Trick Room, and next is Vaporeon. Bulk and speed over my last 2 Pokemon, who both faint easily. So this is awful. I don't want this team to fight Suicune like this, so I'd have to go all the way back to the Nature Center to change it. And now you know why I went directly for the remote PC. You will be so happy this item exists. When you're so far into one of these quests and presented with a problem based entirely on having the wrong team, the remote PC solves all your problems. I switch Camera Up and Drampa for Hariyama and Galvantula, then carefully swim up to Suicune and save before starting again. I decide to get Trick Room started right away, then don't bother letting Ludicolo kill Slowbro, switching into Vanillix, who I knew would survive a Giga Drain. Freeze Dry beats it, and Lapras is here again to test me. Hariyama has got this, just like against Amaria. I fake out to initiate Guts, which will have to let close combat kill Lapras from full health due to its passive healing. It does! Suicune didn't like that, so it's coming out now to repay me. In a Trick Room, Galvantula would be worse against it, but on the water surface, his speed is halved. So he goes out and goes first to blast it with Thunderbolt. Oh shit, it tanked that well. Surf is ridiculously boosted on water surface, and it one-shots Galvantula. I really don't like Vanillix's chances of using Freeze Dry there. So instead I go for raw physical power with Hariyama in close combat. It's not enough, as he's also washed up by Surf. The last remnant of Suicune's health is depleted by Freeze Dry now, but this protracted engagement with the legendary brought Trick Room to an end. But fortunately, with Vaporeon coming back, we still have Slowbro to start another. The Water Eevee whomps Slowbro with Surf, but she lives to Trick Room, then sends a Surf back to Vaporeon. Should have just used Psychic, but whatever. After Slowbro faints, I know that I have to change this fight to my advantage. I send out Vanillux, and knowing that Freeze Dry isn't likely to kill, I use Blizzard instead. It does little, but it freezes the water and weakens the incoming Surf enough for him to survive. Annoyingly, the boost from Icy Field is still not enough to let Freeze Dry take out Vaporeon and Vanillux faints. Once again, it will have to be raw strength with Mawile. Play Rough beats the Vaporeon finally, and the next Pokemon is Alomomola. That fish with its fat HP stat is going to be hard to chew through. However, it can only hit Mawile with Knockoff, which isn't full power against a Mega Stone and is resisted by Mawile. 2 Play Roughs hit to sink the fish. Trick Room 2 is getting close to ending, but the last Pokemon from Suicune is something easy to deal with. Goodra. All I need is no Play Rough miss. No Play Rough miss. We defeat Suicune and begin the catching phase. Once again, we're in beat up shape and that fight did not feel very secure to me. So another Master Ball takes care of the second beast. Here's Suicune's shiny sprite, which adopts pretty much the same appearance as Vanilla, only changing the body to a light purple. After this, there's nothing else to attempt to find unless you want to encounter Magikarp at a low percentage rate in case you didn't get it back from Corin Rouge. No, really, I want to make this more clear. If you didn't get Magikarp from the quest we started with the Crooks from the Grand Hall in the very first episode, then this is literally the only other place to get one. Right here, in this pool, in the New World, in postgame, at a rate of 3%. Of course, if you had the other Pokemon on the list and used the Magnetic Lure, then that 3% isn't important. But again, this is how long the game decided to withhold fucking Magikarp. Surf back south now and exit the New World with no other occurrences. If you fly back to the Nature Center to heal and change teams now, you'll find that Sandy has moved away from the Miltank. When you talk to her, you find a very different person. It turns out, the reason for the Miltank being sick and no one else at the Nature Center wanting to help Sandy is because they already knew that the Miltank was sick because it got into the entire center's supply of cream puffs. Now Sandy's interest in hands-on fieldwork is in the dumps. But maybe that's for the best. For everyone. Not for Sandy, but it was an important lesson. Anyway, we now have one more gate to find somewhere on Route 1. So I started south, looking all the way until the Grand Gates, found nothing, then headed all the way up, only to see it on top of the Nature Center. Really, Sandy? You didn't notice the door right on top of the building? And no one else did? Anyway, prepare your team to handle a Fire-type legendary due to process of elimination, and head up into the last door on Route 1. The world here is pretty barren too, but quickly changes from asteroid field to a single staircase rising up. You'll reach a higher level of meteorites covered with red grass, and head north directly to the only attraction to see. Entei. The third and final legendary beast fights us, and this time we're back to the final field effect. It opens with Aromatisse, and so Houndoom Destiny Bonds. I then discovered that this fight is going to aggravate me horribly, because Aromatisse first uses Trick Room. It's a bad day when your opponent uses it, because that means they're going to be way better at using it than you. There's no reason to stay there with Houndoom, out to Mawile instead, thinking that a boosted Moonblast was incoming. Instead, it went for a nasty plot, so it's going to be a beefy Moonblast. So beefy that Mawile could no longer survive even with resistance. This Aromatisse, meanwhile, is so damn slow that it's slower than Camerupt, and one-shots him too. Greninja can only chip the Aromatisse with Water Shuriken before dying, and after I pointlessly threw Vanillix and Houndoom in front of the fairy bus, I then learned something horrible. This Aromatisse is slower than Slowbro! Now that's a huge issue. The second time around, I decided to keep Houndoom up front, which I don't really know if it mattered. I did this thinking it would use Trick Room, whereas it wouldn't if Mawile was first. In any case, I switched to Mawile immediately, then it used Nasty Plot again and ate an Iron Head. It lived, of course, thanks to Focus Sash. However, it can't use that absurd power thanks to Sucker Punch. But this team is very prepared to use Trick Room. Next is Primarina. Hate. Here's what's even worse. Its Moonblast kills Mawile. Just outright. No stat changes. I try to undo Trick Room with Slowbro, but she faints before she can. I find out that Camerupt could go first, but one Earth Power is only good for half HP. Everything else had died by the time Trick Room had run out and I got to Greninja. He has Extra Sensory, which is the best Psychic move he can learn, and it bails me out now. It doesn't kill Primarina, but it does cause it to flinch. Thanks to that, my Water Starter beats the starter from the generation after it. Then an Ursaring appears next, and Surf doesn't bring it to half. It uses Knockoff, but Greninja lives it thanks to holding a Z Crystal, and I know that if I want to see the next Pokemon, I have to use that crystal now. The bear drowns in space, and now comes the center of this anomaly, Entei. But despite that type advantage, its extreme speed puts down this attempt. I keep the team exactly the same and go again, dispensing with Aromatisse the same way. However, this time I know that Camerupt has the ability to hit Primarina first, so I go for the Z move on him instead. Primarina is hit by Tectonic Rage, but it only takes 2/3 before Camerupt dies. But that amount of damage is just enough to let Mawile come back and use buffed Sucker Punch to knock out the seal. That was good, but now we get to face down the Pokemon that just fainted on my side. Camerupt. I think that Slowbro must be slower than it, and maybe it was, but there's a way for Camerupt to get slower. Mega Camerupt. And indeed, it was slower, and used Earth Power to take out all of Slowbro's HP. My only chance now is Water Shuriken, which is well suited against Camerupt, but it decides it already performed well enough this episode, and only gives me 3 hits. Of course, 1 off from a kill. Greninja is also beaten. Once again, its low HP lets Mawile get the finishing blow. But Trick Room is over. Entei now wants to take on my Steel type, or maybe my Ice type. Instead, I give him my Fire type, who Destiny Bonds him. Entei decks him with Stone Edge, and Entei falls with Houndoom. I send Vanillix blind and we find that bear again. I land a very important Blizzard with its raw accuracy, but it can't hibernate the Ursaring that close combats Vanillix in return. All of this though leaves Ursaring open for another Sucker Punch, and once again, I have to hope that Mawile can duel the final opponent successfully. It's Vileplume. I don't know what to think of this. It's bulky, but I resist it really well. The only problem will be the Moonblast it definitely knows. However, Mawile almost kills with Sucker Punch, so if she lives, then she wins! Even less health than Raikou. Again, all coming down to Mawile. I told you she was a powerhouse, and she's proving herself exactly the same this file as last time. Of course, for the 3rd time, I'm backed into a corner on catching it, so Reborn Ball number 3 renders me the victor over the legendary beasts. Here's Entei's shiny sprite comparison, having a black coat instead. Now, we have completed Randall's quest, and can begin to leave. Only this time, as we go, we hear something. A soft giggling. Maybe far away, maybe right beside us. We come back to our world and go down to check on Sandy. She thanks us for doing everything and says she's giving up field work, rather happy to take a desk job. Now, there's only one more quest to handle. the one from Zero located on Route 2. Fly to the Celestinine Cascade and walk down to the cave where we found the Salandit Den. You'll need to use the Rage Powder from up this cliff to move any Crustle that are still sleeping here this many weeks later. Now, in front of that Salandit Den is a portal to another dimension. Seems awfully inconvenient for the Salandit. Step through the gate and walk up a few stairs to come upon this wall. Taking one look at the wall and reading the description of how it is covered in bumps in distinct patterns, those of you who played Generation 3 may already know what Pokemon are going to be present in this section of the new world. To the right is another wall, and in front of that one is the 50-50 result we talked about earlier. It's Amaria. When we speak to her, her greeting reminds us that she still sees us as a stranger. Amaria then hears we're here to help, and confirms what's on these walls. It's Braille. She says that she was hoping to help since it was close to her house, but this is way beyond her to translate manually. She says that the only way we'll move forward is to find someone who already knows Braille. However, the best bet for it that she heard about, the old man in the Elite Four, is nowhere to be found since our battle with Lynn. She asks then if there's anyone I know who might be able to read it. Probably means getting made fun of again. In any case, Amaria says she hopes that she and Titania can help with other issues, and says so long. So you are left with having to figure out who can read Braille. Well, if you never explored any of this game, then this would pose a spectacular problem for you. However, if you did explore everything, it should be a cinch, since the person we need to ask should have made an impression on you so strongly that you almost don't want to go ask her. But I have no choice. It's the only way. Fly now to Coral Ward and head into this apartment to speak to Danielle. Telling her what we need, she first lays on the shame for thinking that a blind person just knows Braille because, asking us if we think it's easy, before flipping that on its head and saying of course it's easy and she knows it. She then hears we need her to go to a newly formed alien world to read it, giving us more shit for not thinking about whether the Braille even translates into our language. She demands even so that we tell her where to go, and says she'll beat us there. Boy, this is going to be a long quest. Returning to the new world by Route 2, you'll find Danielle already here, of course. She brags about how quickly she got here and read through the Braille, and said that it does translate into our language. What the tablets read is instructions on how to proceed forward, involving a ritual of actions. However, she's not interested in just helping us, once again shaming us for using her as a tool. She's going to make this into a game instead. She's going to turn this into Simon Says. In case you don't know what that is, the point is to do only the actions when the other person starts by saying Simon Says. If they don't, and you do the action, you lose. She says that someone like us with our perfect sight should have absolutely no trouble with this. We speak to her again to begin. You must do the actions that start with Simon Says, and those actions are: take one step right, face downward, take one step down and 2 steps left, ignore her command, go up 3 spaces, touch the rock, but only once, take 1 step right and 2 steps up, face down again, ignore, and a door appears. She is surprised these actions resulted in something happening, but otherwise dismisses us to do what we need to do. Head through the door and go up, jump across some— oh, Jesus! Yeah, save that game before walking up to all 3 Reggies, all surrounded by anomalies. When you are prepared, take on the Gen 3 trio. A battle of golems will ensue, which somehow does not have the Pokemon Golem or Golurk in it. Wasted opportunity. One golem it does have though, starting out, is Stakataka. The hardened Ultra Beast is not a great matchup for Houndoom. One Dark Pulse takes over half from it, but yet again, Trick Room is going to be used against us. I don't get the chance to Dark Pulse again as Stone Edge clocks Houndoom. An aggravating situation occurs next where Mawile can survive a Gyro Ball after 1 Sucker Punch, but it has leftovers, giving it just barely enough HP to survive the second punch and run over Mawile. Camerupt comes in and somehow lives through the Stone Edge with 2 HP to finish off the stack, until we are faced again with a strange occurrence like last time. The Pokemon we just lost is coming out next. Mawile. It's even Mega. Well, it 100% has Sucker Punch, so Camerupt is doomed there. I switch to Hariyama and hope that somehow he gets to close combat. He cannot, dying to play rough. Heracross is ruined the same way, just as Trick Room ended. Slowbro is naturally slower and died to 1 Sucker Punch anyway, which confirms what's going to happen to Camerupt. Okay, so Stakataka is wide open on the first turn, and he's holding leftovers, not a Focus Sash. That means we can use Hariyama to pulverize him. A Fake Out for Guts activation into close combat turns the Stakataka to dust, and instead of Mawile, the first of the 3 Regis wants to pit his 200 defense against us. Regirock. What's kind of nuts is that, when I switch to Camerupt for Earth Power to hit its lower special defense, in no Trick Room, Camerupt still went first! Sadly, he cannot kill Regirock and is taken down by Stomping Tantrum. Extremely unfortunate considering how well suited he was to all 3 Regis. Mawile's called for an easy cleanup, and Regi number 2 is up, Registeel. Both of its defenses are 150. Great. What's worse is that when Hariyama comes back for sheer strength, it uses a seed to go for a Quint stats boost. I make a play that I have not made all games so far in response. I use Belly Drum. I think that I'm dead for sure to this, especially as Registeel goes first, but he used Seismic Toss. That 109 damage it does is not enough, and Hariyama puts Registeel into a car compactor. At 40 HP though, in the face of a Tyranitar coming next, there's nothing Hariyama can do. What's terrible is how I then threw away Mawile instead of using my faster Heracross. Mawile gets swallowed by the Z-move Black Hole Eclipse. I make another bad play and use Slowbro for Surf. I have no Trick Room. She survives a Dark Pulse only to flinch and fall to the next attack. Okay, Heracross, use Close Combat. It's dead. How hard was that? Now I have Mega Mawile to contend with again, but Houndoom is alive. I decided he can stay alive too, as long as he lands Heat Wave. He does, and it's a one-shot. That leaves 1 more Pokemon. Obviously the 3rd Regi, Regice. I keep Houndoom out here despite its 200 special defense, just to make sure it gets softened a bit before Heracross returns to shatter it. Clownish way to win that fight. I brought Heracross and Hariyama specifically because fighting was good against all 3 Regis. Yet I kept throwing away Pokemon when Heracross is way faster than them. Somehow still managed to win on that second attempt. The anomalies enshrouding all 3 golems dissipate, and they quickly flee to the directions I didn't come from. We still aren't done here. This is a much longer side quest than the others we did, approximating to a full dungeon. First take the light shard nearby, then head a direction to pursue the Regis. I go to the left first, and this is where you'll find out we've got more puzzles to solve. More Braille tablets stand here, which will prompt Danielle to arrive and tell us that she already knew there were. Sure, whatever, can we just get this over with? More Simon Says begins, with us standing to the left of the center rock. 1 step down and 2 steps left. Push the gray rock 1 space right. Stand below the center stone. Push the brown rock up 1 space. Touch the tallest rock. Push both boulders toward the center stone. Ignore 3 commands in a row. Then stand below the center stone and touch it. A new door appears, inside of which is Regirock. Now, even though we battled the golems in a serious fight, their catching phases are all separate, which means we get to go back to Glitter Balls for the shininess. This will be kind of difficult this time considering False Swipe will barely hurt 2 of them. Against Regirock, I decided to start by seeing how much Iron Head does. Well, it would have killed it, but Sturdy saved the day, and the icing on the cake is that flinch. So we throw the first Glitter Ball. It's caught! Easiest Regi ever. Literally could not be easier without using a Master Ball. I'll show the shiny Reggies at the end since I don't want to send away my Pokemon before I'm done in this world. I go back to the center junction and head up now, finding this ice rink with 2 more tablets. When Danielle reads our minds that we need her, which again might be the only way we communicate at all, she reads the tablets, then does something you'd never expect. She doesn't tease us for this one. Instead of doing Simon Says, she tells us instead that this puzzle is quite trickier than the others, and directly gives us the instructions. There are 5 cracks in the ice to our left, and they all must be broken. However, there are a couple catches. We have to break them by sliding in the right directions for each one. All 5 must be broken, and we cannot run over a spot we already broke a second time. She says that the tablets did not give the order to break them, only giving the order of the 5 directions we must break the patches going. That order is left, right, up, right. If we fail, we can talk to her to pass some time, and the ice will reform by itself in this world. Now this one can really break your brain if you believe you can only slide across the ice 5 times in total. The problem with that is that the first 3 directions means you're going to be on the left side of the rink, and there's no way to slide up from anywhere to break a crack. After that, it would also be impossible to break one by sliding right from the top of the rink due to the rocks that are on the corners blocking you. But the key lies in what I said. The puzzle is only impossible if you limit yourself to 5 total slides. It's only possible if you allow slides as long as they don't touch the cracks. So now comes the question of which crack requires which slide. The slides that are troublesome are the ones that go up and right the second time. There's only one crack that we can slide up into that won't break 3 in a row, the rightmost one. The last issue is how we'll get back to the left side to slide right again. We cannot stand on the left side solid land without passing over a crack. Instead, we must look for any cracks that can be reached exclusively by sliding on ice. The crack that can fit that bill is the bottom one, which can be reached from the right by first sliding up to the top, then going left to this corner across the top row of ice, down, and right. That leaves the first left, right, left, which can be done fairly easily. Only the second and third cracks from the top can be slid on going left then right. The topmost crack should be our third move, and then, instead of trying to slide up into a crack, we slide into this corner, right across the top row of ice, down to the bottom of the rink, then up across that rightmost crack. That leaves us with that last move I already explained to break the 5th crack and complete the puzzle. It took me a good while to figure this one out. Very different take on the ice sliding puzzle we've done to death already. Head through the door and discover the only golem you expect after that puzzle, Regice. This Reggie is the only one not resistant to normal and has the lowest defense, so False Swipe brings it to 1 in 3 hits. Guess what? First glitter ball again! How did that just happen? I won't look that gift horse in the mouth. Now only Registeel remains. Head to the right side of this place and find one last puzzle. 4 levers with 2 more tablets. But this time, when we want Danielle to begin the last game of Simon Says, she then stops to ask, why is it Simon? Who is Simon? She doesn't even know a Simon, do we? Well, actually, forget Simon, she says. We instead are going to play a much better game. Danielle says. The most self-assured character in the game will tell you to stand in the center of the levers to begin her awesome Danielle Says game, which is functionally identical to Simon Says. I say that, but there actually is a twist here. After ignoring her first command, turn the rightmost lever right. The 4 levers here have 3 settings, left, center, and right. Then turn the left lever left. Then Simon says to turn the top lever left. Stop yourself here and remember which game you're playing. If she doesn't say Danielle Says, then don't follow the instruction. Be careful when she loops poor Simon back into it. Turn the lowest lever left, the upper lever right. Ignore 2 instructions. Turn the bottom lever back to center. Turn the left lever to right. Don't listen to 2 commands. Put the top lever to the center, disregard another statement from Simon, then set the right lever to the left, and you are done with Simon/Danielle Says. Enter the new door to encounter the final Reggie. Mawile has a harder time hurting this one, but she brings it to 1 HP while also being wailed on down to only 7. And for the 3rd time, we catch it in 1 try! I can't believe it! What a turnaround from the start of the episode! The birds were the worst, most stubborn creatures. And then we get to the golems who are all bros. It's not like they had different catch rates, they're all 3. The lowest level any Pokemon is assigned. Incredible ending to this. With this, we are done with the round of quests that were presented to us this episode. Start to head out of here, where you will find Danielle once more, who has gotten the lowdown on the situation now. The fact that the legendaries are invading our world, and that this operation is taking place at the nightclub. She decides to see if she can go there and lend more help. She even thinks about thanking us, saying this is much more fun than sitting around the lobby all day before heading off. But when we follow her, before we exit this place, we hear one more Simon Says command from somewhere. Don't forget me, in that childish voice. Get out of this place now, and head back to the nightclub. As soon as you enter, you're going to find that the guests at the nightclub have increased. 5 more of our friends have arrived. Amaria, Ciel, Adrian, Charlotte, and Victoria. You hear more rumors about our absence, between going into witness protection and being turned into a baby. Near the anomaly map, 3 more attendants wait to offer you new quests to undertake. At the appearance of these 3, the post-game level cap has now increased once again to 115. I also promised to show you 3 shiny Regis. Here they are. Though of the 3, Regice is definitely underwhelming, Rock is fine, and Steel is the coolest looking. Now would be a good time to bring the episode to a close. But before we do, since this episode is so much shorter than anything I've produced recently, I want to take a moment to mention something. This could go anywhere in post-game, and the longer you play, the more you may feel this sensation. You ever get to a certain point in a game, and suddenly reminisce about the way the game felt at the beginning, and compare it to what's happening now? I know I'm not alone when I stopped and thought about that with Reborn. Think about where you started. This entire adventure started out with us walking around a rundown city, scrounging up whatever Pokemon and items were available, pinching money, and proceeding through a Pokemon League challenge in such a straightforward manner, all with the backdrop of a world way more similar to our real one than anything retail Pokemon games did. Now look at what's happening. We're going into a literal second universe and battling these ridiculously powerful legendary Pokemon with constructed teams on these morphing fields. We're given free reign over the order we do them in as opposed to being on a linear path. The scale of everything, from character power to the story, has blown up to unfathomable heights since Glass Hell. What seemed so understandable when we first arrived in Reborn has only gotten murkier as time has gone on, and all these feelings are about to accelerate. The quests from here get more involved, the environments more fantastical, the puzzles way more complex, and the battles even more difficult.